Good morning. Hope today finds everyone here well. I have asked Ms. Kim to help me out this morning by finding a cue to read a few things here. I will start in this way this morning and saying that, bear with me if it starts off a little controversial. Got your Bibles this morning. We will be reading from God's Word. The first scripture will be James chapter 1, 2 through 8. And we've covered a lot of this recently in our test and temptation. But I want to have us this morning again look at this. Of course, I've got to get there too. Here in James chapter 1, start at verse 2. But before we read that, if you're there, say amen. Amen. All right. Before we read that, I'm going to ask everybody that we could start in this way this morning. And I'm going to make a disclaimer before I ask you to do this. I'm asking you to do something this morning. I'm not telling you. I'm not making it mandatory. I'm not saying that you'll be kicked out of the church. I'm not saying you'll be ostracized. I am simply asking you to do something this morning. I am asking you to stand and face that flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I'm asking you to do this.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, each and every one of you, for participating. May those be more than just words in your life. Please be seated. What only took a moment to do has taken centuries to build and defend. Stop and think about that just for that moment. Even the pledge has changed over the time that this nation has been a nation. At one point in time, one nation under God was not even there. Seriously, that was something that was added. I believe that it was something that is just important today is the day that it was added. But I want us to look at something. I told you I would start off in maybe a little odd way. I'm here today to tell you that we live in a contradictory nation. In other words, it conflicts, and it constantly conflicts. How many of y'all took American history, free enterprise, civics, all that good thing? So you know a little bit about the government, right? Because it's what? It's a national requirement. You know a little bit about your government. We live in a nation where our courts can make laws and our legislative branch can hold court. Just the opposite of the way things should be. You can declare here in this nation that a corporation has the same rights as a citizen, yet they're not held accountable in the same way. You can have an abortion in this nation, but if someone kills an expectant mother, that's 2 counts of murder. This is the nation we live in. This is a good one. This is in order to really get home. No smoking in public places. But you've got a right to abstain from wearing a mask due to COVID. In other words, I can breathe smoke in your face and be arrested, or I can call COVID on you and it's okay. You can destroy monuments of the past and erase the history of this nation. And then you can wonder why we're being repeated. You can illegally enter this country and you can demand to have the same rights and privileges as its citizens. You can kneel at the flag or during the national anthem because somebody stood up or died and give you that right. You can choose the meaning of family. You can choose gender. You can choose sexual preference, but you can't choose your race. By the way, I choose the human race. You can break the law, resist arrest, and then tell the cops that they are worthless at protect and serve, and that they have violated your rights. You can judge a person's entire life or what they represent by their worst mistake while judging yourself by your best intentions. We live in a nation where you can demand that God is removed and His Word is removed from every public place in America. And then you can say there is no justice, and no one will treat me with respect, and no one will defend me. That's the nation we live in. Let's look at James chapter 1, starting at verse 2. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters. Stop right there, and I need y'all to look at two words. And it ain't pure and it ain't joy. It's brothers and sisters. Those two words will come up again. Those two words should be critical in a Christian's life. Whether what you're going through right now is pure joy or not, those two words should have great significance in your life. When you face trials of many kinds, because that you know that you are the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may mature and complete, not lacking anything. If anyone lacks wisdom, what should they do? You should ask God, who generously gives to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But there's a disclaimer. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt. Because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. A nation that does that has standards that are contradictory. Seriously. We'll want to claim God in many instances, but in every instance and where He does not suit what we want for this flesh, we'll push Him aside. We'll talk a little bit more about that too. We're double-minded as a nation. Verse 9 says, believers in humble circumstances ought to take pride in their high position. Well, we're not going into taking pride in our positions. What we are going to do is back up a few centuries. We're going to look at one of the founding fathers. Just one. You can look at many. There's a Broadway play out right now on Hamilton. I'm not going to ask you if you've seen it or not. That's not where I'm going to with this. But what I am going to say is history only scratches the surface in America of who the founding fathers were. One of the things that I tell people why I believe so strongly in the Bible is because it shows you the good and the bad. I think American history will show you the good and the bad. It will show you what went wrong and where we've grown. But I'm going to ask Miss Kim, I think you're coming next. Who do you have next?
Brother Les.
Brother Les, if you would come forward. Now, Brother Les is going to read us something about our founding father, George Washington, in his farewell speech. But if you're in James chapter 1, keep your finger there in that book. Brother Les.
Can y'all hear me all right? Okay. Our founding father, George Washington's farewell speech. Of all these dispositions and habits which led to political prosperity, religion, and morality of indispensable support, in vain with all that man claimed the tribute of patriotism. who should labor to subvert these great perils of human happiness. These burdens props of the duties of men and citizens. The mere political equally with the poorest man ought to respect and cherish them. A volume could not trace all their connections with private and public felicity. Let it simply be asked, where is the security for property, for reputation, for life, if the sense of religious obligations desert the oaths which are the instruments of investigation in courts of justice? And let us, with caution, indulge the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion. Whatever may be conceded to the influence of refined education on minds of peculiar structure, reason, and experience, both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principles.
I should have said this at the beginning. Anybody that wants a copy of this can have this. That is just an excerpt from Washington's farewell address. One of the key things there is this. He believes this. This is one of our founding fathers. That you're not going to have any national morality without religion. You're not going to have a government that works without religion. See, we live in a time period where they want to separate church from state, and we understand that. But I'm telling you this, if you take godly behavior out of government, what do you expect you will have in the nation? When you take godly principles out of schools, what do you think you will have in this nation? I'm going to ask you to go to James chapter 1, and let's look at verse 17 there. Excuse me. Yes, let's go to 17. James 1:17. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. He chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits in all that is created. In the same way for this nation. Pick up at 19. Here's that word, or those two words again. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Therefore, get rid of all moral filth and the evil that is so prevalent and hungry, except the word planted in you, which can save you. Do not merely be listeners to the word and so deceive yourselves, but do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. But whoever looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom. See, that's what this nation was founded on, right? Freedom, equality. We'll talk a little bit more about that. That perfect law is only found in Jesus Christ. The perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they have heard, but doing it. They will be blessed in what they do. Those who consider themselves religious, yet do not keep a tight rein on their tongues, deceive themselves, and their religion is worthless. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans, widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. George Washington so strongly believed in these principles that he said them. He he's under attack because he owned slaves. Amen. He made a mistake, according to all that is written in the United States Constitution. Right? And all that we believe, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we're also going to talk about a few other things that he and others did. But I want us to fast forward. I want us to fast forward to the 1960s here in America. The Civil Rights Movement. You might remember someone known as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Problem is we remember the name. We don't always remember what he stood for. See, too many times people think he stood for black rights. Not so. The man stood for human rights. As I said earlier about the race card, there's only one race, the human race. Now you can get on board with the human race, or you can get run over by it. Remember those words, brothers and sisters? We're coming to that. But I'm going to ask that, who do you have? Miss Kim would come forward and read a few quotes. This is just a few quotes that Brother Martin Luther King Jr. said.
Quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King.
Thank you.
The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. History will have to record the greatest tragedy of this period of social transition was not the strident clamor of bad people, but the appalling silence of the good people. Life's most persistent and urgent question, what are you doing for others? Never succumb to the temptation of bitterness. Nonviolence is a powerful and just weapon. Indeed, it is a weapon unique in history, which cuts without wounding and enables the man who wields it. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Not a racial remark one, but quotes that we should all adhere to. If you got your Bible, I'm going to ask you to turn to Romans chapter 12, starting in verse 17. I'm going to say this before the church. I mean this with all my heart. This is not to take away in any manner of the Word of God, but I believe this. If you want to know what's going on in this nation, you open up the book of Romans and you stretch out the word Romans and you write USA. You read that book. By the way, I'm going to tell you something else. Rome's still a very big nation, right? And wiped off. Romans chapter 12, starting at verse 17. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful what is to do right in the eyes of everyone, if it is possible, as far as it depends upon you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. It is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So far, I've given you 2 historical figures and some of the things that they said. Both men claim to be Christians. Stop and consider that. As we come and we celebrate this 4th of July, this independence, it is not an independence from God. We're as much dependent on Him today as in the time of our founding fathers. We're as much dependent upon him today as in the time of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. But we forget. We're human. We need to be reminded. We need to understand that as we look out across this nation, regardless of shape, size, color, male or female, each of us is made in the image of God. So stop and consider that. You say, oh, Brother Travis, that's true, but not all of us act very godly. That's true too. Jesus talked about the speck in someone else's eye, and we've got a plank in ours. See, it begins with us, if we, his people. So I'm going to ask you, if you would, in your Bibles, to turn over to 1 Timothy. And who do you have?
Miss Audrey.
Miss Audrey, if you'll come and read 1 Timothy chapter 5, and I'm going to let Miss Audrey read.
If my people,
I'll read first. Go ahead and read first.
if my people, not enemies but brothers, sisters, mothers, and fathers, not black brothers, red brothers, white brothers, yellow brothers. The preamble to the Constitution. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice and secure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish the Constitution of the United States of America.
You're in 1 Timothy chapter 5. I'm going to ask you to start at verse 1. The word says, do not rebuke an older man harshly, but exhort him as if he were your father. Treat younger men as brothers, older women as mothers, younger women as sisters, with absolute purity. In verse 3. Give proper recognition to those widows who are really in need. Now I want you to stop and consider time and time again in your Bible. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. In your translation, whatever translation you have, where does it say, treat your black brothers? Where does it say, treat your red brothers? Where does it say, treat your yellow brothers? Where does it say, treat your red brothers? It doesn't. It doesn't. People don't like to be labeled, remove the label. They're your brothers. They're your sisters. They're your mothers. They're your fathers. To heal a nation, you must first be healed yourself. To show loving kindness, you must at first have it in your heart. If you want respect, give respect. If you want love, give love. If you want hatred, guess what you're going to get in return? See, our founding fathers knew these things. And I will tell you, they were the best of Christian men. And if you really look at their life, they made some mistakes. But I'm fixing to point some serious fingers. I made mistakes too. How about you? Thank God that we have this living word to guide us each day. See, this may not be the 4th of July celebration that you want, but it's the one that we deserve because it is. When we forget that in this nation, that each of us have rights according to God, rather than a piece of paper. What are those rights? Well, you'll never know them if you don't open this. See, Jesus died for each and every one of us. There were no colors involved. But I'm going to ask you something else this morning as we look at these words. I'm going to ask you if you remember some of these other things. How many of y'all know the most quoted paragraph from the Declaration of Independence? Most of us can quote it, right? I'm going to ask you if you would turn to John chapter 15 and start at verse 10. If you get to John chapter 15 verse 10, say amen.
Amen.
I got to get there too. I stopped showing. I'm going to read you the most quoted paragraph from the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Oh, don't let this give you a warm feeling? Woo-hoo, yeah! And it should be there. It's never to be taken lightly. It's critical in our daily life. It's in recognition of who man is under God. But I'm going to read you the last paragraph. This is the last paragraph these men wrote before the sign. And for the support of this declaration, hey, you got to remember what they were doing, what they were declaring. With firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor. In other words, by signing their death warrant, that's what the Declaration of Independence was. They were committing treason. They were giving everything they had. They were pledging everything. Their very lifeblood, all their money, their children's future, all their hopes, all these things upon what I believe is already in God's Word. Here in John chapter 15, I'm going to ask if you would to start at verse 10. If you can keep my commands, you will remain in love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in His love. I have told you this so that your joy, my joy in you, may be, that your joy may be complete. Verse 12 says, my command is this, love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Stop and consider that this morning. This is not a perfect nation. It's not made of perfect people. But a lot has been poured into it. And a lot of blessings have been given from God. For us to truly be, even as George Washington said, a true patriot, we need to exude, we need to ooze out the very Word of God. The Spirit needs to flow from us even as it flows like I'm sweating now. It should just surround us. That it will only happen in this question. I'd sent out a text reminding everyone, since this is the first Sunday of the quarter, that today was overalls and camo day. As church council had agreed, this was going to be our 4th of July celebration. I quickly got a response that it's supposed to be red, white, and blue. Amen. Thank God for those that will remind me. The next response I got was this. We need to celebrate. We need to be patriots. We have enough camouflaged Christians. Christians, today is the day to show God's love. 2020 is the year to show that we're alive, that we have a voice, and that all lives matter. That COVID, while it is a horrible, devastating disease, can be defeated. That you are just as important as I in the eyes of God. Jesus died for each and every one of us. Each and every one of us, even the ones that rejected Him. Men and women over the centuries have protected this country to give someone the right to kneel at the flag of brothers and sisters, and I call you that today. I'm going to say something. It's not a Travis Sanders original, but I believe it. If you're going to kneel, you kneel at the cross. You stand at the flag. Now let us stand as they come to play. May not have been the 4th of July you were expecting, but it is the one that the Lord has laid upon my heart to share with you. But in this, I hope that it does not just stay in this room. I hope it's not just a file on the internet. I hope it is something that we carry with us. To take pride in the country that God gave us. It's not a perfect country because it don't have perfect people. We won't experience that until we're all together in heaven. But I know this about what God has given us. If we don't allow that light to shine in this country, it will be overtaken by darkness. The Bible is not a hammer or a nail. It is a sword. But in that it's not meant to cut people down and belittle them. It's made to get to the root of the problems and dig out what needs to be gone. So be mindful this week and this month and the rest of this year that what you walk through here is just a glimpse of how great it can be one day, or how pitiful it will be one day. See, whether you're experiencing heaven or hell on a daily walk depends on what you've got in you. God's not about your circumstances, but He is about loving you and investing in you. You want it better? Get on your knees. That's the best way to stand, especially after you take a fall. Thank you and bless y'all for being here. Any special announcements this morning? Well, before we do anniversaries and birthdays, I'm going to ask, will you join me in our battle cry? Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Him above the heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.